Glasses up. Cheers. Hey everybody, Books and Booze podcast. As you may notice, this is not Brian. This is some other guy we found to drink alcohol at my house. This is Matt. Brian is out doing his duty, serving his country. He's part of the National Guard, and I think he's on a military base somewhere, either getting training or eating cheeseburgers, or possibly both at the same time. Before we get into the book,
America,
we're drinking this lovely cinnamon liqueur called Fireball.
Oh, Fireball.
What do you guys think of the Fireball?
It tastes like candy.
Yeah, it's delicious. Little bite.
Do you remember those Red Hots when we were kids? Oh, the Atomic
like-
Fireball.
Yes,
That was
precisely.
the other one.
I think that's probably where the name came from.
That's a logical conclusion. I mean, you know, maybe.
Is it technically a liqueur though, or is it?
It sounds more high class. If it's liqueur.
It's like college pregame.
Yeah. Little pro tip on this stuff. There's an apple cider called Angry Orchard, and if you take that and then get a shot of this and drop it in there, it tastes delicious, and it's a good like party drink. People are like, oh hey, and it kind of cuts the cinnamon.
Like
spices.
cinnamon apple. That sounds delicious.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
So today, Searching for Dave Chappelle. This book is basically the Chappelle story, kind of his whole rise to his early days of comedy, and then the stuff that happened to the show, and then him kind of just leaving the scene completely. Matt, what did you think of this book?
Searching for Dave Chappelle was interesting. I thought, because a lot of the stuff, I didn't really know much about Dave Chappelle to begin with. Like, because I watched the show and it was awesome when I was a kid. And,
Yeah.
like, everybody was talking about it. It was so popular. It just rose to stardom so fast. And I hadn't heard of him as a comic. I hadn't heard anything about him until his show came out. And we were quoting him daily. You know, everybody was, I'm Rick James, you know. And it was just, it was so huge. So for me, this book was kind of interesting because it gave an insight into him as a person and like his rise to fame, I guess. Because he didn't really have such an easy go as an early comic. I mean, most comics spend, 10 years even getting close to becoming a comic. So, you know, doing those little bars and stuff, the open mic nights and just bombing. And so it's kind of interesting to see that aspect of him. And then his creative genius, I guess. And then I guess the big thing with the book is obviously his disappearance, you know, his trip to Africa.
So we'll save that one, because I think there's some meat there. We'll get to that. Just, Derek, what did you think of Searching for Chappelle Show? just Chappelle, Searching for Dave Chappelle.
Same as Matt. I was like, Dave Chappelle. I've heard about this guy. He had a show. I only thought there was one season of the Dave Chappelle Show, but I was.
I guess technically there's three. The first two are what we've probably all seen, and the third one kind of sort of got released but didn't.
Yeah.
It's a whole account.
Well, there you go. Yeah, so same boat. Didn't know much of a stand-up, you know, all this sort of thing. But I like the book a lot. I read it quick, so love it. Kindle single, quick read. If you're an Amazon Prime member, you can borrow it for free. So I'm borrowing it for free right now. Yeah, I finished it. I thought it was interesting. I thought Zinoman, that's his last name, the author, I think he did a good job of organizing his ideas in a compelling manner, interweaving the different, different comics and producers and managers and that sort of thing, getting all their take on why did Dave leave and who is Dave and what's his deal, like, you know, what makes him tick, what's the deal with Dave Chappelle, and so I don't know, I thought it was compelling. I liked it. Yeah.
Well researched.
Certainly.
Yeah, the author goes to Dave Chappelle's hometown, which is, I want to forget it right now on the spot. It's like
Yellow Springs.
It's in the middle of like
Ohio.
Yeah, it's kind of this rural, small community, and there's a big university there that closed and all this other stuff. It's interesting. I like this story because I think our idea of success, and we've talked about this in some of our other shows, is that people just kind of like, everyone thinks like, well, Dave Chappelle just got a comedy deal on Comedy Central, and then he got $50 million, right?
Yeah.
It's like, no, that dude worked and worked and worked and showed up at these crappy comedy places that no one was going to, and you know, and I think you just kind of grind it out, and that's how you get success. But on the other hand, you think, well, it's not just that hard work. He was really good at this too. Like, I remember when Chappelle Show came out, I think the reason it was so good, aside from all the kind of cutting racial tension or whatever you want to make of that,
Yeah.
was that it was just really funny. There was
Yeah.
nothing else
He's a
that was
funny
even
guy.
close. Like, you watch an SNL, just a whole show now, it's like, you're going to get maybe one or two skits that are chuckle-worthy. We're not like share with your friends, like, oh, hey, there you go, that's funny. Whereas Chappelle Show, I think probably 80 to 90% of the skits, you were laughing your ass off, and you were quoting them the next day because it was so funny. Real quick, what's your favorite Chappelle Show skit of them all?
I knew you were going to ask that too, and I was trying to think of it. I don't know. I would have to say, I mean, the
black white
supremacist.
That's pretty solid writing. That's funny.
It's just so creative, and it was so popular at the time.
Yeah.
And even to this day, I mean, you just say that and people just start laughing.
Oh, yeah.
And just I don't know how. And I didn't even realize that's based on like his real life. Like that's based on his uncle. Right, in the book, like he's based on his uncle who's a blind man on a bus, and these kids were ridiculing ridiculing a white man or something, and then he realized that they were talking about him, and so
he didn't even realize the joke was about him.
Yeah, and so that was interesting to me that's what kind of gave birth to the skit.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, it was really good. I don't know, what's your favorite?
I think, well, Charlie Murphy.
Yeah, which one? Because he had a couple.
F your couch. I'm not gonna say it. I'm Rick James.
Yeah, the Rick James one was solid.
On the internet. Dude, that's funny. He's so funny.
It's all good. I'm trying to think. There's so many good ones. I particularly enjoyed the one where they had the different races decide which celebrity got traded. It was like a big award show, and like
the draft or whatever.
Yeah, it was like a racial draft. And
Yeah.
the funniest part about it was Dave Chappelle dressed as a super kind of uptight like country club white guy. Like they painted his face kind of like this. He looked kind of, I don't know if ashy is the right word, or like he had this blonde wig on, like a sport coat, and he looked ridiculous. And I think like the white people got. I think we were in a bargain for either Colin Powell or Tiger Woods.
Oh, stop it.
And Tiger Woods got chosen by the Asians, and I think we got Colin Powell. That's been probably 5 or 6 years since I've seen this. It's a little fuzzy. But it's the whole show, everything was orchestrated so well. I mean, the skits were tight, it was funny, it was hilarious. And which brings the big thing that everyone kind of knows about Chappelle is the $50 million contract. And I tried to think of, whatever I'm good at, if someone paid me $50 million to do that, and then the pressure was on to produce, if that would be enough to break me. I don't know, can you guys, I guess, empathize with Chappelle?
I don't know. Well, I think my biggest takeaway from the book, or at least the way kind of Zinoman painted him, at midway through the book, he really paints Chappelle as like, not like I don't know, not like an egotist, but like he's really like sensitive about his work. He's really sensitive about having creative control. Mm-hmm. He's obsessed about being able to do the things the way he wants them to be done, and not have people changing things or limiting him his comedic potential, I guess. But so for me, it was like he was always in this battle. Like I always thought he was in this battle with the Comedy Central or Fox, whoever was producing these shows. Because he had a couple failed shows that I didn't know about either. He
was one on Fox and a couple others that just didn't. I don't think they made it to market, right?
Something, for ABC or something. But so like it always seemed like that battle between creative control and other people, corrupt, movie producers, whatever. But the righteous artist who's trying to get things done, So I always thought that he was suffering, but then. At the same time, like it was more of an inner battle within himself, because he seems to be struggling with, they bring up one thing for like black comedians, how they struggle with, race in their jokes, because you can't, one stance, you don't want to sound too black, and one stance, you don't want to sound too white. And so
it's how do you get the white audience, right? You balance it out. If you're playing to the black club, you're going to do a bunch of
He does it different than if you're playing to the white club, and so he's always kind of in that battle, and then he just wants to be himself, and he wants to tell the jokes that are funny for him, And so that's one thing that I didn't really think about. And so I think at the end of the book it talks about, because he's Muslim, I didn't know that he was.
Yeah, that was a random Chappelle Show fact that I did not
know. And
know.
his mom was like a
Spoilers.
Methodist priest, or
Yeah.
Methodist pastor or something.
Unitarian,
something.
Yeah, it's like, wait, what?
And so it talks about, checking your intentions.
And that's right, that was a big quote.
Yeah, and so I think for him, like, what were his intentions? Were his intentions to make $50 million? Or were his intentions to, put out the kind of material that he wanted to put out?
Mm-hmm.
And so for him, I think he had to have that gut check, and he just realized, this isn't what I want. I don't want the money. I don't care about the money. I care about the art of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because he loves stand-up. He still does stand-up to this day. Even after his hiatus with the show, he was going right back to stand-up and small clubs, and he was performing on the street for a while, like with this other guy who kind of trained him when he was starting out.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for him, it's really about the art versus the money. So I think getting the $50 million kind of shocked him, and didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he really knew what to do with it.
Mm.
And knew he wanted more time to produce the last season, and they weren't really going to give it to him. And so I think he just decided, I don't care about the money. I just want the show to be good.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think he was happy with how the show was going anyway that last season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He made it more about the money.
Yeah, well, it complicates things. Can you empathize with the turning down the $50 million?
Turning. Oh my gosh, $50 million is a lot of money.
Well, but you have to remember too. This wasn't like he was living in a mobile home and
No,
then was
you're
given a
kidding.
check. Like he was doing okay, and I think whatever Yellow Springs backwater.
It's like a ranch, though. I think, like there. I think it's
You could probably get a ranch for like $7,000 there. I feel like it's
Stop it right now.
50 million. So I don't know. What do you think? Under that pressure, all the circumstances?
Yeah, I think Matt kind of nailed it. I think to him, his art and his craft, in a way, I think he felt that it had become corrupt if he took the money, like by taking the money, and I need more time. And I think he was struggling with like, how can this still be a pure kind of product? And at the end of the day, he said, I can't do it, and then he was out.
no.
So the $50 million. So for me, would I turn down $50 million?
Oh, what
to
do
serve
personally?
No, we'll rephrase this. Let's say you already had $10 million in the bank, $10 million cash. Your house already paid for. You've already gone on a couple cool trips. You've got a nice car.
Got it.
So if the
You
opportunity
can keep
came,
doing the things you love,
yeah,
but just not on this venue.
Yeah. No, dude. If I could, goodness, if all the things are paid for, and it's like we want to give you more money and more fame. And more, yeah, I know what you're saying. That's not. In that way, I guess I'll agree with Chappelle's decision to kind of step out of the spotlight, because that's not true success. And then for him, he realized he wasn't getting any. He'd do stand up and everyone would shout, "I'm Rick James!" in the middle of his jokes.
Yeah.
And he'd walk off stage because he couldn't. It was like, I can't even do the thing I love to do.
Yeah, it kind of tarnished his love.
I messed myself up with this,
Yeah.
and so. Certainly. If it was one of those things where it's like, we'll give you even more money, Derek, but the things you love,
Yeah.
like that sounds like the devil. So I would not do. I think I wouldn't take that deal. So
Like a devil's bargain or something.
yeah, I think it's kind of weird.
Well, yeah, kind
Midas
of
touch.
Yeah, I mean, it's this weird thing where you go, this Chappelle's, you boil it down to, is he a genius, an artist, or a madman? I feel like it's kind of one of the three, because on the one hand, he would be a genius to create all this content and just go, I don't want to do it anymore, and walk out of the limelight. But you think, how would you turn down $50 million? Like, I mean, just aside from buying a bunch of cool stuff, I mean, $50 million could do. This is like generations of wealth for you and your family.
That's true.
I mean, you could do stuff beyond your scope of influence. You could give to charity. You could probably buy, like, you have all those things.
His own
people buy
production
this.
company. He could become,
He could make the next.
Yeah.
He could be Comedy Central. He could be the next version of that. Dave Chappelle's channel or whatever.
Start his own show. Produce his own show.
Yeah, without
Yeah.
stuff. So I don't. It's hard for me to kind of wrap my head around that, and I think, that $50 million, that number is just too I hope to maybe be in that realm someday where somebody offers me a contract for 50 mil. But I don't think any one of us can fathom what that even feels like. I mean, like if somebody like said, listen, $5,000 right now, we want you to work this whole week, we want you to work 12 hours a day. I'd be like, or just 1 week and you'll give me like $5,000 cash, but what am I doing? Like shoveling horse manure. Like, well, so yeah, I don't know. But so I guess the whole crux of this book is kind of explaining why that decision happened the way it did. I don't think anyone's ultimately going to know. Chappelle was on, it's like Kimmel or Fallon recently. I'll put a link in the clip in the show notes. But he talked about how, like, what happened. And he said, I basically just stopped coming to work and never came back. Yeah. And that's kind of what happened. It wasn't, like you're saying earlier, there wasn't some big contract dispute or anything else.
No.
But I think this book will allow you to see how he came to that conclusion. It's not just madness or some artist that goes.
They said it was the two things was everybody's saying he just he does drugs, he just probably got all drug addled and should be in rehab or something. And then the other thing was that what was the other thing?
What is it?
It was him, the righteous actor versus
evil corporate
entities that control everything.
No, I don't think it's that either.
So that was like the big drama after, but it's obviously not the drug one so much, and it's as far as we know. And then the corporate entity one, I think it's something of that nature, but then it's also all the other. I think what the author does a good job of is kind of laying the groundwork, showing you that all these other past events in Chappelle's life kind of led up to this decision. It's like, it wasn't like a big breakdown, but it was definitely like a reason for him to need to do some soul searching or to need to escape and to get away. And he always referenced Bobby Fischer, which I like. I thought that was, chess reference. Dave Chappelle, nice. But, talking about pulling a Bobby Fischer and just escaping. I think about that all the time. Whenever like life gets tough or whatever, and I don't think of Bobby Fischer, but now that's going to be my name for it. But stuff gets tough, and you're just like, I just want to just get away from everything for a little while. Just pull a Bobby Fischer, and then just collect yourself, and then come back once everything's all settled down, and everything start anew. So I think that's kind of he's hoping to get away, just escape everything for a little while, let the controversy die down, and then come back and then start over with a stand-up, doing what he enjoys, doing what he loves, and just start anew. I think that's a big thing for him. At least, I mean, he's getting more popular now. His stand-up is popular again. So.
Well, and see, they talk about this in the book, but I don't even know if I would go to one of these stand-up shows because, on the one hand, he puts together these very like these tight, funny sets, and then other times he'll just go and chit-chat with the audience, and I feel like if I went to one of those shows, like let's say it's like a smaller venue, like a House of Blues or something, and there's an insurance agent sitting at the front because he could afford to get the rich guy tickets, and Chappelle's just like, so what do you do? And he's like, I sell life insurance. And you're like, you came here to hear some Charlie Murphy stories. I would be that guy yelling like, I'm Rick James. So, I don't know. It's a weird bag of marbles. I think Chappelle is kind of on his own island in that I saw Bill Cosby pretty recently, and I got a Bill Cosby set, and it was he's a little old. It wasn't maybe as tight as it was.
He's like 100 years old too.
Yeah, like he had to like sit down. And he kind of he did a little old man spacey a couple times.
It's like biblical old, bro.
Yeah. So some of his set was a little bit, but some of it was really funny, and it was a cool thing to say. I don't know. A little tangent there. Matt, would you recommend people read this book?
I saw Jerry Seinfeld recently, and it was like a tight set, and he was more hilarious than I've ever seen him before. And so, I get that, but at the same time, he wasn't testing out new material and stuff. Like, they have specific shows for that, where you go and see him test out new materials, but he sounds like Chappelle does that for his big sets, too, and that would tick me off.
By the way, how much were your Seinfeld tickets?
They're like $100 each or something.
So, I mean, I feel like if you spent $2 on Chappelle Show and it's probably like a 3-drink minimum or something like that, you're gonna be pretty. $250 for a night out.
Hear him get heckled and stuff. That'd be good. Or he just walks off because he gets heckled.
Oh, I'd be livid.
Anyway, yes, I would recommend this read, especially for anybody that's interested in Chappelle or his comedy. I think that it kind of provides an insight. It made me really appreciate him, like as an artist and as a comedian. At the same time, it made me kind of, you're an artist, but people are paying to see you, so you also have to remember that or people watch your show. Like, you have an audience, that people that respect or enjoy your work. So you put yourself in the limelight, right? And you chose this life. You chose to be famous, kind of. So and you have an obligation to your fans in a certain sense.
Yeah,
because
it's a job. I mean,
it's a job.
Yeah.
So in a certain sense, like, you can't be the starving artist and be famous at the same time. And I think he's kind of straddling that line.
Yeah.
Or he wants to, be both. But at the same time, I think he's obligated to his fans. But yes, I think this book provided a lot of insight into him and his background, and I think I recommend it.
Derek, what say you?
Yeah, it was great. Read it. It's compelling. It's well written. It's funny, and I laughed out loud in a couple of spots because he kind of retells some of the Oscar Hughes stuff in his jokes. If you are a person who wants to know what makes things funny and why Dave Chappelle is funny, even perhaps, you should pick up the book because the author even goes into some of that action. Give it a read.
Yeah, I would say the price is right on this one. It's a quick read.
Price is right.
Yeah.
$0.
Some of these Prime books, like maybe one we're going to review next week, you go, that was kind of expensive for what I got out of it. And it's also, this is no site, the whole another separate topic. My only criticism, before I get to that, this book is really good for people that are looking to be successful in basically whatever you want to be successful in, a trade or a talent or whatever, because it shows you the steps that Chappelle took to get there. And unfortunately, it's a lot of hard work and kind of honing your trade. But this book explains that and shows you how that works. My only complaint with this book is it kind of starts out with this tease that this author is looking to find Chappelle for an interview.
Yeah. Oh man, totally.
I'm gonna give the spoiler alert. He doesn't actually he sees Chappelle like on a bike or something like that,
in
or
his
like
hometown, and then he's gone.
He's gone, and it doesn't pick up later with that. So I feel like maybe not having a 5-page intro that talks about how much you want to meet Dave Chappelle.
I know, yeah. Going to all his shows too. He went from New York to San Francisco to see a show and stuff, and he's hoping that he could talk to him, and then he never talks to him.
It doesn't happen. So, maybe just have that in mind when you're reading it. There's not a big build-up where Chappelle sits down.
There's no payoff.
Yeah, doesn't smoke a cigarette and get the llama's back and yell I'm rich or anything. Yeah. So, anyway, check it out. Great book. I think you'll enjoy it. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you soon.